That's terrible. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome back. Oh my goodness. A lot of troubles with that. I had no sound on my microphone in the last video. I had no idea that that was going on because I didn't get any chat notifications to say that there was no sound. So that's unfortunate. I am now monitoring on my laptop, which does show me that there is some sound. So that's good. I'm happy that that's a thing, but now I have to restart the stream and do all of the media stuff now that I meant to do to begin with. My sincerest apologies to those who came to watch and realized that I was not live. Um, that is very unfortunate. I apologize profusely. Very unprofessional, and I didn't realize. I still don't even know why there was no sound in the last stream. So that's going to have to be something I fix. Just resharing the stream now. Wow. My apologies again. Um, that really is no good. Um, I generally go live onto Instagram all the time. My presence here on YouTube has been very limited to this point, so that is going to stand as a very awkward sort of video. And ironically, actually, because most of my videos get demonetized for background music, in which case this will be one of the only videos that I have that doesn't actually have any music at all, except for the background music, which I can play. So we'll do a little bit of background music, I guess, and I'll see how that works. Hopefully, it won't be a problem. Again, thank you and welcome for any of the viewers, my friends and followers. I know that I don't post here very often, so allow me to express my gratitude and say thank you for joining and watching. Oh man, I did 20 some odd minutes in my other video and there's no sound, and I had a lot of really good points that I'm going to have to try and say all over again for my audience now in this video because you can actually hear me. I think what happened in sound, and I'm supposed to be a sound guy but not always a live person, is I think what happened was the microphone selection process in the application and then on the computer, they were on different levels. So I had selected a different mic, but then chose another one in the streaming platform. So they weren't communicating. That is so terrible. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm here. I'm live now. Hello, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Let me just check on my stats here. My friends have been in the chat room and waiting for me to join in and say hello and all of this stuff for quite a while. I've had some comments come in. That's absolutely terrible. So let me just roll through what I meant to roll through, and I'll say a couple of things over again. I feel so terrible that I have to say it again, but it's not the first time someone on YouTube has had to do that. So I'm here. Let's kind of just roll with it and see where this goes. The first thing I wanted to say is basically this question here is, why am I using AI to design? And that basically stems from the idea that I myself am dyslexic. I've had dyslexia for my whole life. A little bit ADHD, so my mind works really fast, and a lot of people will say that overthinking is a bad thing. In the realm of design, overthinking can be overwhelming because you have too many options. You can become indecisive. You don't know what to do. Because my early education and dyslexia meant that I was trained to write and focus a lot on writing, I learned how to write quite well despite that what would be typically a disability. Dyslexia means that you have difficulty learning these languages or using them. And that can develop into problems over time with expressing yourself, with reading and comprehending certain things with languages. I don't know how it works in any other language because I don't know. But coupled to that, and the way that it can be troubling to kind of learn and develop language skills when you're young, it also is an avenue to an expansive imagination, because my mind doesn't focus always on what's in front of me as a language. It's not always reading just what's in front of me. It's exploring adjacent ideas. So it's the theme in front of me plus this one and this one. So it's always 2 or 3 degrees wider than normal, which is very problematic for staying focused, being on task, doing what you're asked to do. In this instance, using AI, what happens is I am able to express in a language. I wish I could put that camera on the top, or can I move? I can't move it at the top. Anyways, I can express in a language or a prompt format based on my knowledge and information that I've gathered about audio and hi-fi design over many, many years, that I am able to use the prompting in a detailed way to extract or feed the AI generator, an image generator, what kinds of things that I'm looking for. And because my imagination's so wide and my knowledge now over 27 years plus in audio is very deep at studying all the greats, and I have Floyd Toole's book, and I've looked at all the designs that I can, possibly all over the world. My other video you can watch, I explored pictures from Expona of designs and companies that I really appreciate. These, for instance, these speakers here, people have said they look a little bit like Acora Acoustics. Acora Acoustics is a great designer. I really love Val. I love what he's doing. The things that he's been able to produce are incredible. These are not meant to mimic that, but they turned out that way basically because the material looks like marble. Marble and granite are very similar in that sense, and Acora Acoustics are all made of granite or other speakers, other types of materials. I believe they're starting to use like a sandstone quartz or a quartz type of thing. I'm not sure what the white ones are, but the black ones and the new gray ones that are the ARC something, ACR, SCR, SRC. I don't remember the name. See, it's always about visuals. I can tell you what something looks like, but the words escape me sometimes. So anyways, I've had people say that these look a little bit like Acora Acoustics, but that's not what I'm really aiming at. What I'm aiming to do is build a tower speaker that is a 3-way design that has certain elements that are positive for acoustic design treatment, which is basically the flat baffle to accommodate the drivers, the curved cabinet, which is essentially good for acoustics, and the round over corners, which is good for diffraction. So other designs that I was able to come up with are like these. They're a little bit of an influence. They're taken from other types of models that are shot a certain way. In the AI format, what you can do is blend 2 images together. So if I wanted bananas and Lamborghini, for instance, you can get some sort of a mix of the two. Usually what it does is just puts the yellow color on the Lamborghini, so you end up with a yellow Lamborghini. You don't actually end up with a banana looking Lamborghini. Something about the details, you can't simply put in generalized instructions and have something come out that's very unique and different, because there's never been a car made out of bananas. That's never existed before. There are no images of that online anywhere. You have to actually tell and script the way you would on a website. A website is just generated from a program reading a script, and it throws the website online. That's not AI. That's a program reading code. Well, AI programs right now, it's not actually AI. What they're doing is using, in this case, Midjourney is using English language to reference images online, and it's using tools similar to mixing or blending tools like Photoshop, and people have been using in Photoshop for a long time. It's using the accuracy of Photoshop type skills with pre-existing images online, which is a controversy of some types because some of them might be copyrighted. Although I wasn't able to use a directly copywritten image in a blend, it just wouldn't work. So I think if people are doing their diligence and they're copywriting their images online that you can't use them, AI can't use them either. That aside, what I'm doing is giving it a script, telling it what to look for. It's using pre-existing tools and blending tools to then synthesize a combination of my instructions. That's really what it's doing. It's a very complex of multi-leveled programs working combined, which sounds like AI, but it's not. AI designs, like AI is a thinking thing on its own. These are just complex layered programs using algorithms and principles of like Photoshop and blending and image search to generate or synthesize something from pre-existing or already existing images. Hello, VTV, my friend is here. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I tried to do this earlier and it failed miserably because this didn't work and I don't know what else happened. So my sincerest apologies. I can see the comments now. Thank you. Thank you to my friend Jay who came in to check it out, which is a blessing. I'm so glad that Jay came in and said, bro, I can't hear anything. So I checked my audio and now it works. Thank you. Thank you so much to Jay, who's also an incredible influence. I love what he's been able to do with audio and community and all of that stuff. So now, yes, I need this video to be reshared. Try to get my audience back in here. It's terrible that I shared the first link so many times. I had up to 4 people at one time, but there's no audio, so they all just left. Yeah, so back to designing and details. It's not quite, from my understanding, it's not quite what I would call AI, because AI has something of a thought process of its own. And these programs are just taking pre-existing images and synthesizing a result based on a language script, the same way that a web browser program reads the code and generates images and puts things in a certain place based on the script. It's similar in that sense, where these are automated programs that actually have learned so much through users' use of Photoshop. I mean, if you actually look at the terms and service of Photoshop and like what they were able to extract from use in your phone and like what your phone is able to use in terms of like communicating back to the services, anybody ever stop to read how much information is actually used from our use online in media and how we're actually training these programs to do better and better work? Because every time you click, you're voting for this version. I like this version better, or this version better. And it already knows what it did to generate those images. So it just continually starts to do better and better and better based on our user input. It's our fault it's that good, to be honest. So like I said in my previous video that nobody heard, it's our fault. And if we're against this kind of thing, then we need to check ourselves to say, well, it's kind of my fault. I jumped on board and clicked yes to the contract, and I clicked yes, I'm going to use my phone, and yes, I'm going to use this app. And then meanwhile, the application actually uses all of our data in order to improve itself over time. Those security application things where you have to click images of click boxes that have a bicycle in them or a bus in them, or whatever it is, type of image, you have to click wherever it sees these types of things. You ever notice how it's almost always on the road or something near a road? Those applications are actually training Tesla-like AI automated car programs to visually recognize animals, bikes, traffic lights, traffic signs, in order to navigate its way around roadways using human input. So it's human beings training these AI recognition programs in vehicles through uses of security applications. Now that's how clever these designers are, is they're getting us to feed them information. So really, it's kind of our fault that they're that good. So moving on, as it were. The design format that I've basically followed here is to make them as accurate to real speakers as possible, where the acoustic centers are close, the driver layout is as close as possible. Some of these are versions of itself. There's a glossy version of this one. This one's got more of a slate material on the front with a small waveguide. This has got a mesh covered tweeter. So all of the formats are very similar. Some of the design elements are from other speakers. This one actually looks a lot like Polk Audio, but it's a tweeter mid-range in the middle with woofers above and below. So this is actually a combination of a per listen speaker layout where it's face on, but the tweeter and mid-range are in a different place. Borson Acoustics speakers where they have woofers above and below the tweeter location, and some of my own prompting to tell it what wood finish to use, what colors to basically use, what the plinth is supposed to look like. So all of the other design factors are influenced there, where this one's just red and black marble with a white inlay. Some of this is actually supposed to be a vertical amplifier, but it decided to make it looking like a speaker instead. So that kind of looks like a KEF model, like a KEF LS60. You don't see the sides, so there would be woofers on the side opposing each other. These could be powered, they could be probably powered speakers considering there's lights inside them. But the AI generator is basically taking things that I have told it to do, and it's synthesizing it from things that it's already seen before. So like a computer chassis, computer case, plus a couple of other things. That's basically what the program is doing, is using influence that I've given it, like use marble, use the footers on the bottom, use a dome tweeter with this and this, and then it puts it together in a clever way. Now, I haven't told it exactly what to draw because that's the synthesizing part. But in the end, what it's doing is taking the material that I've given it, the driver type that I have given it, a reference of hi-fi. All of the stands and bases are basically an option. But as you can tell, some of this stuff is not that's not accurate. There are diffraction edges all the way around the outside. The tweeter and the dome mid-range are too far apart on some of these. Obviously the materials, like this whole tower is twisted sideways, so it doesn't really know what it's doing. I mean, it's cool that it's got a dome and a ribbon tweeter, which is what I asked it for, but it's not putting them in the right place. This one, however, this is one of my favorites. It turned out very, very well. It has a proper dome mid-range. It has a proper dome tweeter. It has the right number of woofers. The spikes on the feet go up and down, which is something I specified. The angled cabinet, the wedge shape overall, it gave it a false logo on the bottom because that's what most speakers have. When you look at brands around the world, all of these things that you see are very similar. This is very sort of like the plate and the orientation of the tweeter and the dome are very like Sonus Faber looking, but not quite. It's got woven woofers, which is something similar to others, but these trim rings are actually seen on very, very cheap speakers as far as I'm concerned. You don't see trim rings like that with screw holes in it with a marble finish. So these are just synthesized from other sources. These ones I showed off earlier, they're meant to look a little bit like Acora Acoustics, but I'm not copying them. I suggested that the program use white marble with red marble as an accent color. The black plinth is something that I like. So it is able to go in and extract some of these influences from images that it can just look up and blends them together in a clever way. Like I said, using programs that are already in Photoshop, that are already on tools, Now there's a variation of the other speaker where this one's waveguide didn't turn out so well. The dome on this one's bigger, but the tweeter didn't look right. But the finish changes. The front plate has got more marble on it now. So this one, the same thing. It's got a bigger dome. The ribbon needs some help. The black spikes on the bottom actually look cool, but you can tell easily here when I switch back and forth that these are almost the same shape cabinet. It's only changing the angles just a little bit. But I happen to like this one better because of the ribbon. Now, they're completely different. I think the tweeter and the top woofer should be closer together, but they almost look real. And many of them actually turn out that way. The ones in the top right, I didn't think, like, it's got a point on the front of the cabinet. It's two domes, so it doesn't actually like tweeters too much. The ones in the top left, the dome and the tweeter are a little bit small, so I didn't pursue them that much. But as you go through the process, what it's going to do is give you options, and then you can select the best ones from there. Even bookshelf speakers with marble finishes. I mean, you can see all the hardware. It's most common that you see hardware and screw heads in more speakers than not, so that's why you see them. But when I'm asking it to do like very detailed marble designs, it's able to do the cabinet great, but it's not so good at doing drivers. Now, most of these are actually pretty good. The ones at the top here have a diffraction edge, which is no good. You don't want this in a design. Some of the other ones, though, are pretty good. The domes in these are pretty good. The cabinet looks amazing. The marble detail is actually fantastic. And these, the same thing, like they're leaning back, they're sloped cabinets. This one doesn't make sense. Well, unless that's a tweeter and a waveguide, but the cabinet is massive for those sizes. So it may have a downward firing woofer. Again, the waveguides here are a little bit off. The plinth is massive and chonky. Scrolling too fast. These don't have tweeters at all, so I don't know what happened with those. I love the way that the bottom ones look a little bit like bacon. The bottom right corner, these ones look like bacon strips. But you can see the development of this angle, this sharp middle section, and then this one's more exaggerated. So they're similar in design, but a little bit different. It just depends on the variations that you give the program. So I'm nearing the end of my drawings here. These ones have a tweeter because I kept pushing and asking the program, like, hey, this is what you're supposed to include. Don't skip on this. The idea of putting the whole speakers in a living room, this is where I was commenting in the other video about renders online for advertising. Most of the renders that you see online are actually false. They're actually generated in applications and 3D rendered from models. They're not actually photographs. It's easier to do a render and then put a 3D model into that picture than it is to actually go and take photos of something in the location. I tried my hand at doing amplifiers. Why not? Who's ever seen a white marble amplifier before? Well, now you have. Probably impossible to make, but I decided to do one anyways. Now, of what benefit is that? Are companies gonna actually make? Are they actually going to make this? Do the components actually make sense? I don't even see a volume knob or a selector. I mean, some of it just doesn't make sense. But I like it. Either way, like I enjoy being able to see this stuff in my head and actually in front of me and make the different iterations of these products. They turned out really, really nice as far as I'm concerned. Some of the drivers look great. Some of the hardware is hidden. Some of the face plates, like this is really nice. The fact that you can't see any of the screw holes. You can't see any screw heads. The tweeter's a little bit messed up, but it's a decent design. And then the edge of the baffle is not supposed to be sticking in like this. It's not supposed to be inlaid. So that's something obviously you can change in Photoshop later if you had the skills, which I don't have. That's why I need people. I need skilled people to go in and make iterations of what we're looking at. Again, you can see the bottom, the spikes are pointing up. That's a detail that I wanted in my versions. The kinds of colors that are in here, the blending, the ribbon, it's as close to an accurate type representation of what an audio product might look like in production. And that's why I'm trying to do these details. A dome tweeter in a shallow waveguide with a ribbon tweeter. Now, of course, it's only drawing on what it can tell, but you can see from this design and this one, that's almost the same format on the baffle, just a different tweeter, even with the edge. Marbles changed. Personally, I like this one better than this one. Driver iteration's a little bit different, so you can pick and choose. Now you can see the screws in this one, and I don't like that part. So you have to keep pushing it to, like, you know, keep going, keep going, keep going. I like the baffle on this one. It's a little more shapely, but you would never have a thin ribbon that small. Some of the lower quality images I copied from earlier, these ones almost look real. From YouTube video, what I'm looking at in the stream, because it's smaller and compressed, these ones almost look realistic. It's a small dome tweeter with probably a 6.5-inch woofer. I mean, of course, the cabinet is massive. You don't need that much air volume for 1.6. So it's not realistic in terms of that, but it's got curved edges. It's got wedge-shaped cabinet. It's got most of the acoustic principles that you would want in a product. And I know these things. I've studied every other designer that I can think of under the sun, a lot of people's opinions online. I look and read through everything. I study constantly. So when I go in, and here's almost just about my favorite ones, when I go in and I tell the application, hey, I want tall speakers, I want curved cabinets, I want this many drivers, I want it to look like this. And of course, it didn't do well because it messed up the tweeters. It's got an inverted dome mid-range, which is fine, but it needs a proper dome tweeter on the top, and they could probably be closer to the woofers. Now, somebody in Photoshop could go in and move them around. Yeah, of course. And that's actual person's work. I'm not as skilled in Photoshop as a lot of other people have been. Their jobs are to do this work. So if this is valuable enough, then I can still pay someone to do the extra work. Now the heavy lifting is being done by an application, and it doesn't take nearly as much time. That's not taking away really anything from artists. This is augmenting their work. This still means that I need my friends to go in and actually touch it up. So that's the end of this library. So bear with me. We're gonna go in and change this up. I'm gonna share another library of stuff that I worked on just today. This is brand new stuff that I've been working on today that I hope that people will enjoy. I will start at the top and work my way down. Again, these are brand new images. I just started working on them today. And of course, I've watermarked them, hoping that people are going to respect the fact that it's work that I've been putting in and ideas I'm developing. Even though I'm not drawing it myself, it's still something that's coming from my imagination, something that I appreciate. And I am actively selecting and working on them throughout the process. Now, AI may be drawing on influences from online. It's using language prompts and program scripts to synthesize a result. So I said earlier, if you write banana and Lamborghini, it's not going to be able to make a banana Lamborghini because that's never existed before. Someone would actually have to draw that or photograph something like it in order to blend it together. Or like a web page, you actively script the details together, and then you will get a result. So this series is all about natural wood finish, and as accurate as possible as I can make and generate a image or a design that approximates what an actual producer or designer would want from a hi-fi design. It's not 100%. Again, all of them have something wrong with them. Either the tweeter is a weird shape, the drivers are not real, The orientation of the drivers is wrong. The cabinets look a little bit ridiculous or in different order, but the whole idea behind what I'm trying to do is provide interesting and or concepts that are close or an approximate closeness to what you would want from hi-fi. That way it can go into production or at least stir the engine. So these are brand new today. I am a little bit nervous about sharing them like this, but that's why I went online. So bear with me. You guys can write any comments you want in the chat room. I appreciate any comments that you make. Now, some of these designs, what I've asked it to do in this one that I didn't in the other one was to symmetrically mirror the pair. So as you can tell, this is a left and right pair with the curve on this way and the curve on this side, that it's not just producing one and one and making the same design that, you know, it's the same box speaker that or whatever that you can produce. These actually have to be made in a pair, which makes them unique. I wanted to make them more symmetrical and more accurate, at least in that sense, to make them mirrored, because sometimes the nature of the style in the program can actually make too much variation. So the left and right speaker in some of the formats, I can maybe show one later on, where it'll make the left and right completely different shapes and it'll add stuff that doesn't actually exist or make sense. So when I started going through this today, and I literally did this while I was eating breakfast, listening to music, I started getting some interesting sort of shapes. Now this has got a solid metal faceplate, which is actually pretty good. It's rounded over. I don't like the hardware. This one's even more aggressive, but for some reason I like it better. The sharp edges of the front and bottom of the cabinet, this part here being curved and angled, and then the accent on the side, this actually, I really like this. But again, the hardware nubs, there's no need of having those there unless that actually bolts it to the cabinet, covers the hardware. The mid-range, you can't even see it, and the top is just a mesh. It needs a tweeter. So for whatever reason, the program doesn't like doing tweeters. These ones are a variation of the first one. You can see that this shape going up the side is more exaggerated. It's actually carved into the cabinet here a little bit. Dome mid-range, dome tweeters. These are details that I'm telling the app to actually use. And then I pushed it a little bit more and it made this accent on the front actually red. So this is like an inlay, but this mid-range here is nearly perfect from what I can tell. It's got almost no visible, it's got no visible hardware. It's got no visible surround. We have to assume that these are super tweeters. This is a tweeter in a mesh, so you don't poke it in. Again, it's just an exploring of the designs and going through things like the wood finish, the accents on the front. There's no hardware this time. These are probably reminiscent of a screen. But does anybody notice the background? The backgrounds here are also something that I have told the program to do. It's including the background that I want it to have. Whether there's a window, whether there's decoration, what kind of furniture, what style it's in, what color the floor is. You literally can tell it to do all of those things very specifically. Now, with my prompting and the things that I'm able to generate, the things that I've been doing with these images, these are super nice. And the upper driver should be a coaxial dome mid-range with a cone surrounding. So that's, I don't like the hardware rings, but I love the woodworking and the angle of the woodworking. Now the base doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that's closer in approximation to what you would want. The hardware on not flush on the surface, that's also a thing you don't want to do. But the woodworking is incredible. It makes incredible cabinets. Now, as a ribbon tweeter, this is decent, but there's too many diffracting angles. And again, you can see the hardware. It's accurate to what drivers would look like, but I don't like the fact that you can see the hardware. If you're going to put a plate over the wood like this on the front, this plate should be covering the hardware. So again, that's something that someone with Photoshop or an actual designer would change in this look to make it more accurate. Now, here's another version of the first one little more aggressive lines, the domes and the waveguides look better, but now we have carvings in the front that looks more like a car than it does a speaker. Why would you have designs like this? The speaker doesn't need ports or vents like this. I mean, if these were bass vents and these side vents were for the mid-range, okay, maybe that makes sense, but that's not really the way it's laid out. So there's always something to change. Again, there's a design here that's got dome tweeters. 2 mid-ranges is not common. You don't really need them, but it's an interesting kind of look with the wood panel up front. I just like the way that it carved the bottom. The rest of this doesn't make sense. Up top, this is a mess. I'm not even hiding it. This is a complete mess. But down here, this is pretty cool. The way that it's overlaid. And the box of the back of the cabinet is actually inside of this bottom part. I thought that was super, super cool. Now, that's a beautiful design. That's a proper waveguide tweeter. The drivers are almost the right orientation. The slant and angle of the cabinet's really nice. The feet look nice. This is one of my favorites that I've seen from today. The faceplate is pretty nice, although it doesn't cover the hardware, and it should. These ones, the tweeter is a complete mess, but the color combinations and the sweeping wood grain lines looks awesome. This one is a version of that other one that I just showed. So this one, it's got more details on the side of the cabinet. It's more elegant, I think, in terms of the way the baffle looks. The tweeter is accurate. The mid-range is better. The 2 woofers are better. So this is one of the more accurate versions of that design that I've seen today. I like the features on this being symmetrical and mirrored instead of being every speaker's exactly the same. It's reminiscent of some of the work that Franco Serbilin and the Sonus Faber guys designed their Olympic and Nova towers with the ports facing in one way, or their El Cremonese where the woofers are only on one side of the speaker, so they're actually made as a book-matched pair. That's something of luxury audio, to do something with a mirrored finish like that. So the designs are asymmetrical, but as a pair they make sense because they're mirrored. This is a little more aggressive. The lines cut across the cabinet, but you notice the bottom woofer is different from the middle woofer, and the top one is a coaxial mid-range tweeter. Now, there's too many diffracting edges across the top of this design, and the feet make no sense. Why does it look like they're little wine glasses? I don't know. That's just something that it generated, but it gave us a stereo in the background, so that's kind of cool. Go back to this one. So there is a bit of a different design. Again, dome mid-ranges, dome tweeters, mirrored pair, same thing, different background. This one's more like an MTM design. I like it because it's a narrow base. It's almost like a vase type of design. The background looks totally accurate for diffusion, but as you can tell, it's like there's a window in this background with slats, then there's more background, and then there's more slats but less window. So you kind of see what I mean. It does what it wants to do with the background. It doesn't look super ridiculous is what I'm trying to say. The wood grains are amazing. Mid-range 2 tweeters, I don't know why. And again, the hardware flanges around the outside, the app doesn't like deleting those for some reason. Another concept, a very slim design cabinet. It only needs one of the tweeters on top. So we have to imagine that one of them's a dome tweeter, the other one's an actual tweeter. And then you can see on the side of the cabinets, there's these sharp lines. So that's actually pretty cool. There's a more accurate design. The spiked feet, I really, really like. I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can zoom in. The spiked feet on those is amazing. Yeah. I don't even know what to say. So yeah, there's a couple of more designs, a little more angled on the bottom, more accurate, a little bit of a curve on the top. So there's these subtle sort of design choices that it's made of different versions. There's spikes on the feet. What I do like about this, though, I will say, is they're inverted domes. That's not something you get to see on many of them. There's no hardware. They're inverted domes on the drivers. They're pretty accurate in terms of the look. Like, that's not symmetrical. You can tell that the plinth is asymmetrical there. Even the shadow showcases that. But I like the fact that it added the curve and the inverted domes. It's getting close to what I like. That's just a natural sort of design baffle on the front. Oh, that's cool. It actually slides over the next one. Again, this is more like a 5-way design, but I love the way that it did the woodworking on the bottom, how it fades into the point. I don't know how that's possible, but that looks awesome. Big dome tweeter on the front. I don't know why it does this on the bottom. That doesn't make sense. That's pretty accurate. MTM design. Really nice woodwork. Again, I just included it because someone said they look like something, and there you go. There's a little bit something else for you. Really like this one. A little bit of an accent on the top. Same curve as the other one. The waveguide's a little bit asymmetrical, so that's strange. But I like it. There's no domes at all. It's just all cone. This is very modern looking, although the hardware shouldn't be showing. So again, it's only 80%. You need someone with some skill to go in and actually make it look super accurate. Another nice design. The tweeter's in the wrong spot. Could be brought down a little bit closer so the acoustic centers are close, but I love the accent through the center. Turned out really nice. Again, that's an MTM using dome tweeters. This is something that I don't see very often. It's a variation in the woofer, mid woofer, and then mid and tweeter. So it's almost a 4-way design using an MTM, but small drivers. Now, I've only ever seen this in Aperion Audio actually has some theater speakers out right now where Aperion Audio has 2 dome tweeters and a ribbon tweeter in the middle. So it's very reminiscent of that type of layout, but I've never seen it in hi-fi quite like this. So it is drawing on some influence, but not exactly. And these are really nice. It's a small little waveguide. The hardware doesn't make sense, but you can't see the woofer hardware, so that's getting there. There's another version of these. The next 2 are actually some of my favorites. It gave me a pair of speakers with amazing woodworking, mid-range coaxial on the top, a mid-woofer on the bottom, and what looks like a powered amplifier to complement the pair in the middle. So that's really, really cool. Really, really like that set. This one with a ribbon, it's more of like a 4-way, so you get this woofer and mid-ranges, dome mid-range with a ribbon tweeter. Really super cool. Again, same thing, mid-range, super tweeter. You can kind of arrange it any which way you would want to, honestly. Where am I going? This one. Very nice pair, same thing. You would want a mid-range with a tweeter here instead of the other way around. The cabinetry looks cool. I like the angles. This is a very smooth pair. It's one of my favorites. No domes at all. You can see the hardware, so that kind of sucks. This should be a mid-range instead of a dome tweeter with a waveguide. That should be the tweeter, so the hardware on top looks awesome. I love the way that it hugs the woofers on the sides. I really, really like these. The design of the wood here in panels, the way that this is all angled, complementary looks. Yeah, the background is awesome. Yeah, this is great. One of my favorites as well. Another set of thick boys where the woofers are the same, mid-range is different, dome tweeter, waveguide. Needs a little bit of work around the waveguide there. You don't want that kind of edge on the tweeter. That doesn't make sense. So that needs to be smoothed out, and the hardware needs to hide. But otherwise, pretty nice. And when I saw this image, it was like, who's this in the window? Somebody's watching my designs, but there's no one there. So there's a couple of different iterations. The woodworking on these was incredible. Another pair by the window, a wave with a different color in the mid-range. Let me go towards some of my favorites. So again, this is woofers, dome mid-range, ribbon tweeter. These are too far apart for their acoustic centers. Fantastic woodworking there. It's a little bit of a large driver in the top, so yeah, I didn't even see that window. So there's a window there, and I'm a little focused on all the details. So when I looked at it, I was like, hey, what's that? That's like my attention to detail in these images is I'm looking at everything possible. Now, these I really like. I like the angle. The waveguide makes sense. I don't know what it's doing with the mid-range. Call that like a phase plug mid-range. Then these are like mid-woofers, and this is a woofer, but you shouldn't see the hardware. And this tweeter needs some help. I don't exactly know what it's doing there, but I like the rest of it. It looks pretty stout. I like the way that these are thick at the bottom. It's got this similar sort of diamond shape that I select in a lot of my designs. Dome mid-range and a ribbon tweeter that's drawn the wrong way, but it's kind of got the right scenario. Another one of those fish-shaped speakers. This one's really cool. You put a mid-range and a tweeter there. Some bigger speakers. So again, I don't know why there's two mid-ranges, but it looks kind of cool. The hardware should not be visible with a baffle like that. It's pretty close, but it's enough, in my opinion, as a designer through words, that if anybody got a hold of them, they would be able to work with them and shape them in 3D software to finalize the design and fix some of the things that these applications just really, they can't do on their own. You still need people to finalize what's going on here. I mean, these images are imperfect. They're not going to be able to represent exactly what we want from a product because, you know, it's a program. It's just a computer program synthesizing from Google Images or anything that it is able to reach for. The same way that I would want to look up, if I want to look up a pair of pants or an outfit that I want to wear, I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to look that up. These programs are doing basically the same thing. They're taking images from online and they're putting them together according to an algorithm like what they use in Photoshop blending or any of the AI tools where you want to do edges and you just blur or you crop out or you do edge detection. All the years and years and years of Photoshop work have code and programs and algorithms and whatever else has been in that program for a long time, and people have been using it over decades of, you know, or a decade of production. So now applications like this can tune into the way that those apps draw and paint and fill in and recognize things right away. So that's what this is doing, is it's just a multi-layered program synthesizing from pre-existing programs. The script is written by people. We tell it what to look for. It looks for it in the open world of images and photography. And if you put anything online and don't read the terms of service, well, then the idea of copyright is on you. It's on all of us. It's on me. It's on you. It's on every user that's been online. Every app, every web page, every service, every social platform has a terms of service. And when we sign in to terms of service, and we say, yes, I accept the terms of service, and they turn around and they develop software like this, or the data is being sold and used for software like this, yes, that should raise some alarm bells, but we also need to be accountable for what we've done. These applications are available for everyone to use. Of course, it's a paid service, but the way that they got here is because of us. So I think personally, why would I not use something to my joy or benefit based on my activity, feeding it what it needed to grow up to this point? It's on us that they got that good. We have been choosing tools to make our lives better forever. That's my personal opinion on it. It is our responsibility to guide this in a direction. And if I'm going to sit back on my chair and say, no, I'm not going to do anything about this, or I'm not going to support it by not using it, CNC machines and 3D printers and all these other machines that we have to make our lives better, easier, faster, more efficient, more accurate, more repeatable, less mistakes, all of that stuff, business efficiency, we have been part of that since day one. And I don't think that it's a good idea that we sit idly by and say, no, I don't want to use it. I think it's a better idea that we get in and understand what's going on, know how it functions, and correctly manage social and political and business avenues going forward, like making open AI sources or using different programs instead of any of the ones that are out there now. The more involved we are, the less out of control it can get. That's going to be my PSA based on why AI. In my opinion, that's what I'm doing, is I'm learning how it works in order to generate better images that some companies and brands or people can be interested in possibly making. Some of the stuff makes no sense. Like if I zoom in here, like take a look, thank you for joining. There's 8 people watching. I don't see any comments, but that's okay. I love that you're here. This almost makes no sense. It's a tiny little mid-range. I assume this is kind of foam. I mean, you see this on Wilson Audio and you see it on a couple of other speakers. Sulk Sound actually has some of this. Some of the old designs from the 70s have foam around the speakers or around the mid-range and tweeter for that sense. But yeah, it's a tiny mid-range with a dome tweeter, but the rest of the cabinet is essentially, you know, that's a 3-way cabinet, and that's pretty common. EasyTech, what's going on? Thank you for joining. It's nice to see you in here. Thank you. Thank you. I had trouble with my first stream. I sent links out for people to join, and then the microphone didn't work. Technology really bit me. So we're kind of most of the way through this. I don't know how long this has been, but I appreciate you guys being here. Where are we at now? We're almost at an hour. That's pretty good. So again, some of the designs that we're going through here are based on things that I have asked it to do. And let me see comments. Let me go back. Yeah, so that would be mid-range. Like it seems like a deep waveguide tweeter, where this should be the tweeter, but it's got a mesh over it, so it's not 100% accurate. And I don't know why, but why does this have 2 bases? This doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do that. That's, you know, and you don't put a trim ring on to show the hardware. That doesn't make sense either. So 80%, A for effort. I love the woodworking on this. It looks so great. But again, I don't know why this application, it always shows the screws, because out of the number of speakers that are produced out there, most of them that are in pictures or advertisements or otherwise, most of them are cheaper and most of them show the hardware. So that's why we're getting images with hardware showing. It's in the right place. I mean, it's not completely stupid. I mean, that doesn't make sense. That looks like the vent on a car heater or the opening on a hairdryer. It doesn't look like hi-fi at all. It has a really, really tough time trying to figure this part out. The woofers, no problem. They almost look identical. The bass is pretty good too. The cabinet woodworking, there's lots of pictures of wood online. No pun intended. Don't go there. Don't go there. I see your face. I'm telling you, stop it right now. Don't even. Okay, back to this. Now, I really like this design. It's a pretty decent sized woofer with a pretty decent tweeter waveguide. Of course, the dome doesn't look decent at all, but if you put the right drivers in here, cover up the hardware, curve the baffle a little bit more. I don't know what this accent is here, but I think it looks pretty cool. The basic shape is amazing. The woodworking's great. The feet kind of make sense. I like that they're large spikes. Again, that's a 3-way, so a woofer, mid-range, tweeter, waveguide, or you can make this a concentric driver. The baffle step here, these edges should not be there for mid-range. That's going to cause diffraction, so you don't want that, but the rest of it's pretty cool. There's an iteration of a previous one, different woodworking, feet, different dome. The mid-range is a bit different from the woofers, so that's pretty cool. This one is one of my favorite, actually. The bass is solid looking. The woofers match. That's very good. This hardware doesn't need to exist here, but this is like a PMC type dome mid-range with a waveguide tweeter. Solid hardware. The points on the front indicate that there would be some sort of a grill to go over top. Not that I would want one, but you know, that's the way hardware is. Most speakers do have them, so that's why they show up here. I don't know what's going on with the top of that, but that is what it is. And then the same thing, this is just an interesting what it's done with the hardware on the sides. It doesn't really make sense, but I think that accent looks cool. So again, ribbon tweeter should be a dome mid-range, but that mid-range and this kind of together doesn't make sense. So all in all, what I'm going to say is AI programs have done pretty well, but they're not perfect. You still need a person to go in and do this stuff. I'm going to show one more set. One second. So I'm going to close that one. I'm going to open up a new one. Bear with me. How is everybody doing? How's your night? How is your day? How is it going on? Do you guys have any questions? Ask questions, please. Please ask questions. I am open to answering anything that people want to know. This is a very new thing. There aren't too many people developing this kind of stuff. And from what I can tell, the kinds of designs that I've been able to come up with and imagine in my head, as well as some of the backgrounds, are very different from what I've been seeing out there. They're more like renders you would see in the industry for advertisements, rather than like design company designs. So anyways, we'll go through this purple set. This is a purple set that I did the other day. Purple, white marble, that kind of thing. So we're going to go through them pretty quickly. Again, the same sort of elements. I don't know if you'll see some sort of trending with some of the hardware and some of the looks, like the waveguides, the tweeters are usually the same. This one's really elaborate. Like it's a whole room that I started doing with these ones. The purple is a little bit different. One of my friends that's a producer and a musician and, you know, all around hi-fi nut, really, Emiko, that hi-fi girl, really appreciated the purple, and it was really because of her influence that I started doing purple in the first place. So this was one of the designs that I came up with first. She was really excited about, gave me approval. Of course, I personally like this one. It's like a whole room. It's loungy. The natural wood looks great. The speakers in the back are symmetrical. Yeah, I agree. Val said there that loves the rooms, and I agree with that. The rooms and the settings, based on what I've asked it for, are fantastic. The backdrop is great. The furniture looks great. It looks appropriate. Some of the speaker work is great. Here, mostly what I love is the marble work. It's given me really interesting looking marble work. The drivers kind of don't make sense, but the rest of it looks incredible. Some of the marble here, the gloss looks incredible. The space theme that I was able to generate and ask for really looks great. These ones turned out good. It needs an extra woofer, actually, if you're going to do an MTM. And then, of course, the hardware mounted over top of the baffle doesn't look great. It should be flush. The waveguide on these ones looks amazing. Again, sort of like mid-range above tweeter, dual woofer, pretty standard stuff. It actually looks like PSB's arrangement. It's just a matched book pair. Should be concentric, smaller ones, or additional woofers. I don't know how to make sense of 5 of them like that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. The waveguide here looks like it's inserted. Yeah, we're calling out nebulas and counts. Yeah, I can actually, can I show this? Hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have been doing this from the beginning. Yeah, so the waveguides here, that the edge on the waveguide shouldn't be like that. It should be smoother. But overall, I mean, the color of the purple and everything looks great. So if these are the main speakers, these are the subwoofers for the main speakers, because I don't know why, but the program doesn't like tweeters for some reason. I don't know why. But we have here like the whole room now. These are mostly accurate. You can see that the woofers, there's 3 here, waveguide woofer. Like that's pretty close to what you would want from a symmetrical pair. The design was more accurate. I don't know what this is doing on the back. Like why? Why is there just one sitting there and it doesn't even make sense? I don't know. Where's the other one? Where's the other one? So there's a variation. So there you go. That's more accurate, but this time it's giving me 3 woofers here, and it's, 3 here, 2 domes here, only 1 dome here. So that's why in the other set, I asked it to do mirrored pairs so you don't get this variation. I don't know why it's done that. These MTMs at the back look pretty cool. Start to see solid faceplates, but again, 3 woofers, then 4 woofers, so it's a little more variable. I think those are speakers there. I don't know exactly, but no comment. I'm not going to say what it looks like on YouTube. I have to behave myself here. Again, it's a very relaxing sort of setting. I think that the overall look of the cabinets is what gets me the most. I'm a huge fan of what it does to the cabinets, the rooms in general. This is a blended image of some products. Yeah, this is incredible as a setting, like really, really incredible sort of speakers. I don't know what the ones in the middle are, if that's supposed to be like an additional tweeter or accents. I have no idea. Sometimes it just gives me these extra boxes for some reason, like why I have 4 correct ones here and then I have partially, like it's almost the same room minus the furniture. There we go. Same thing. Boxes for no reason. Really, do you guys recognize the chairs? Look at the chair. Here's a screenshot for you. Look at that goddamn chair. Even in AI artwork, let me pull this up. Even when I'm asking an AI program to just generate lounge furniture, this chair, as an infamous audiophile chair, everybody knows what this chair is. You see this video like later on, you're gonna know right away. This is an infamous chair. They always have this in hi-fi rooms. So when I ask it to do lounge leather furniture and it's a purple accent thing, it gave me this chair. I'm not even going to say what it is, but this is a famous chair. it always shows up. But I mean, the background in the room is incredible. Again, this is one of my favorites. Matching pair, really cool wall. Gigantic. Like, look at the size of these chairs versus this. What is this? A 24-inch woofer? Program's crazy. Amazing back wall. Like, the wall is, yes, that's the one. Vel's a smart one. Yes, that's what it is. So again, it's as accurate as I could make. It's giving me a lot of variations of what I'm asking for. The backdrop, the room, the angle of the cabinets. I don't know what it's doing with this, but at least it gave us components. And I hope you all noticed, all of these speakers are wireless. All wireless. Oh, okay, I get it. Check my page. That's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm an educator. So that's the end of the set, and I maybe have one more. I might just end this because I wasn't able to showcase the other one. Let me go through this really quick. Actually, I think I started with this one, but I'm going to do this set instead. Preview, bear with me. Thank you all for joining. It's an incredible opportunity for me to, ooh, why is it telling me to do that? That's weird. Maybe because of the type of, there we go. Sorry for the dead air. Just trying to figure stuff out on the go, and it's a little bit difficult. There we go. So some of my favorite designs, we're going to end on these. Basically talk about the fact that it doesn't do everything accurate, and a lot of the concerns are people, they don't want these applications to like take business away, change the way business works. People are afraid of losing their jobs, of course. I totally respect that. I mean, I have a job that I like, but at the same time, I'm also learning this so I can possibly have a new job. I want to keep up with the technology and able to teach myself something that I need to know. So with these images, the way that these are designed now, I'm generating some interest in terms of ideas as a consultant or otherwise. And I'm just going to get through these really quickly. These are completely subwoofers only. Like, it's almost the same baffle there between these, except for the top. And then those are subwoofers only. Really wild backplate designs, really cool. Sort of that worked out well, except the woofers are different shapes. Pretty interesting design there. The tweeter's not accurate. I like this one, but it needs help. The tweeter mid-range needs to be closer. No hardware. That doesn't look good at all. This turned out like very bad. There's too much edge diffraction. This doesn't make sense. I don't know where it got the gold from either. That one's really nice because you can put a mid-range concentric on the top. That needs an improved mid-range, but the rest of the cabinet's cool. This actually has more edge diffraction here, which is not that great, but as a cabinet, it looks cool. This one's close, but the mid-range tweeter is a little bit of a mess. The cabinet's split open, again, same thing. So as a cabinet structure, it looks cool, but it doesn't quite work for what we want in audio. And that's the big problem with these apps is they don't really have exactly what we want from it. So let me pull up one more thing that I've been doing with AI, and I'm going to end on that because these are all brand new. I think, did I do... I'm looking for one more image. Oh. Yeah, so they all need help. They all need a person to finalize. They are all imperfect, and they need us. They need a human touch in order to finalize. They need that last little bit from our sensibility and direction, and it isn't without a human element. None of this is done without people. People wrote the programs. People provided the know-how. People have fed the programs what to do, what not to do. And people are still deciding on what is good, what is bad. So there's still a lot of us. There's still a lot of human involved with this process, because right now it is just digital. Digital, as we know, is completely inhuman. Even if people are designing it, can do work and do business and interact together, two things are huge with this: is it's generating conversation, it's generating interest, and it's providing ideas. The third thing, ideas to potential makers. Now, that's significant because what we can do with ideas is incredible. And ideas, as we know, that's the basis to everything that we have, everything that we do. Everything basically starts with a drawing, and we develop from there. Now, I had an idea for a drawing with some of these, and I kept going through the ideas until I got closer to what I wanted. Some of them are similar, some of them are a little better than others. Some of them are more accurate to what I asked for. And it's up to me to decide which one of them I keep, which one of them I use, which one I share. Like this one is incredible for its design, the design elements of fractal around the face. There's a close-up. The flower pattern and work in the way that it's chosen and did that was something that I asked it to do. It's not doing that on its own. Like that's my influence. I'm asking the program to do these things. What material, what colors, what kind of face it is, if it's male, female, if it's androgynous, if it's got open eyes, closed eyes, smile, what expression. I'm asking it to generate all of those different things. And it is really human that we're involved with. It is about who we connect to, who we're involved with, what kind of influence we take. And feathers, yeah, there we go. Basically like feathers. It's feathered fractal is what it is. Fractal images are something I'm really interested in. Fractals in general are mathematical equations, and then they just exist as a matter of nature's function. And I wanted to use it in a way that was pretty creative. So all of these images have factors that I've chosen, but the conversation that we have and how we move forward together, whether I'm providing business for someone or creating interest for someone, or if I can get better at what I'm doing because this is a practice, then I can generate some content for someone and help their business. It's all about teamwork. We're all on the same team at the end of the day. You know, the tide raises all ships. And if some of these things can be interesting or beneficial for someone's work, or it gives them an idea, and then the idea that I've given them or influenced them to do ends up producing something great. Like when people have writer's block and we turn to some kind of resources to stimulate our imagination, that's basically what my hi-fi designs are for. I mean, some of them might be terrifying, like this one's a little bit wild. It's all about interest, and it's all about influence. Like, what do we take from it? What do we think about it? What do we do with it afterwards? Where do we go with these designs once we've had the influence? I'm sure that some of these are going to get into really interesting territory here. Like, I really like the eyes on some of these. Now, I know this is not hi-fi, but if anybody's watched my Instagram live videos, you know that I don't just stick to hi-fi. I'm exploring a lot of different things. Now, for the record, I just want to state this is exactly the same application that I was using in the hi-fi designs that are also generating these faces. The same exact application. I've just told it to do something different. You know, like that. I'm instructing it to use different factors, different things. The smoke, yes. Vel's calling it accurately. I told it to use smoke. That's exactly why it has smoke everywhere. In all of these images, it's got smoke. I've asked it to use smoke in the background. It's not exactly what I wanted. I have some newer images, but look how amazing the face is. Like, that looks like a real face. That's something that's scary about AI now. But we need to, as a conversation we have with our friends, We need to tell people like, hey, how do you recognize AI? How do you make sure you're not falling for something that isn't real? We need to generate our own learning curve when these things are influencing us. Renders online, false narrative. People have used AI bots to write scripts. People are using ChatGPT to generate an entire script of things to say online. They're reading it as a real person, but that doesn't mean they thought about it. They're just being a puppet now to AI, and that's dangerous too, because that's false. I wouldn't ever do that. I'm not saying that I drew these. I'm not saying that they're real. I'm not pretending that I'm capable of drawing these on my own. What I'm saying is, quote on this image, take me to your dealer. This is a audio alien. Take me to your dealer. He's got 4 ears. 2 sets of headphones. What I'm saying is we need to have a conversation about how to recognize things and what we do about them, because it's really important that we educate community and we talk about how this stuff functions. Like, what are we doing about this stuff in society? Are we allowing like kids to just learn and not think about what's going on? No, you obviously don't want to do that. You want to educate our youth and even some of our adults, if I'm perfectly honest, if you know what I'm saying. We need to educate some of our adult friends to how this stuff works. Why I love the faceplate, the fact that this is like white marble over front of her face. You see a theme going here with me and white marble, marble in general. Yeah. Some amazing stuff. Yes, it's fake, but at the same time, like, that's, so is this. This isn't my skin. And somebody used a computer to design this shirt. So, I mean, really, what are we talking about? And I wanted to say all of that. I wanted to get that out there from my point of view, from my designs, from my perspective, to my friends, and say thank you for the attention. Thank you for the support. Thank you for noticing some of these things. And thank you for being part of the conversation. Thanks for being here with me and giving feedback on some of this stuff. I do appreciate it. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do this stuff. I'm grateful that I have friends and followers and supporters, and this channel's not really grown a lot because I don't do a lot here. I do a lot more on my Instagram channel. So this is an attempt to come up to par. This is an hour-long video, hour and 17 minutes now, of showcasing what I've been doing that's really new, that's really cutting edge, in design concepts, in luxury hi-fi design, basically, because everything that I've shown is expensive materials. It's all exotic material and looks and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to do a more budget, clever design work. I have one project that I wanted to make real that I need to see if AI can actually help me do that. If I can, I'm going to post some of that stuff, but please follow here on Facebook, on Instagram, all the same name. If any of the images or interest is out there and you see this video, then yeah, let me know. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. And I just wanted to say thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for being open-minded to the possibilities that are embedded in this ever-evolving technology. Now, whether we like it or not, if you look at the history of technology, this was always coming. This is the direction that all people in society and using applications and softwares, this is what we decided was okay because we voted with every click of yes. We are the ones that pushed this forward. And thank you to my friend Val. Thank you to Jay. Thank you to Easy Tech. Thank you to everybody who joined. There was up to 8 people watching at one point, which is absolutely amazing. I love the fact that I was able to reach that many people. I hope that many, many more join. I mean, again, my channel's small, so I know that it's going to be difficult. It's also after midnight right now. So thank you very much. I am going to leave it at that point, and leave you with that thought that it is up to us to guide how technology moves. And I think that the more involved we are, the better educated we are to control it rather than letting it control us. If we are too laid back and too conservative in a non-participatory way, then we are going to allow it to control us by absenteeism. Now, that's not the way to get ahead of it. If there is a concern, or if there is a fear or insecurity or an unknown part of what is happening, the best way to fight that, I'm going to call it ignorance, is to educate yourself, to actively seek what it's about, what's going on, who's in charge, who designed it, who's programming it. Is ChatGPT leaning one way or the other in terms of US government? We don't know. You need to look at how it works, and you're never going to learn how it works unless you try it. There are some debates that are very important to have, and again, part of going through this process in a human way is generating that interest in talking about it. Yes, it can be used for cartoons, it can be used for faces, it can be used for all kinds of stuff. AI has been designing figures, backgrounds, objects of all kinds. I've seen people are selling designs that AI has made on Etsy as a book, as a background, as a cover, as a coffee mug design, as t-shirt designs. People are making tens of thousands a month selling AI art printed onto something else. But you know what? That whole circle of possibility is a business. You have to actively tell it what to make. You have to take the work from AI, make it into printable format. You need to take that to a printing lab. You need to pay for the shirts or garments or materials, have it printed, organize the shipping, manage how everything works, then e-commerce manage it as well. That is a shit ton of work. And it sounds like a job to me. And if people are willing to pay for it, then who's to say? Because we don't like it doesn't mean that it's bad for everyone. So I've chosen to go about it in the way of as realistic hi-fi luxury design as possible. And a lot of other people have decided to go a different way. So I'm exploring the options of, hey, this is also possible. I've actually, from what I know some people have designed some, but nothing that I've seen anywhere looks anywhere close to what I've done. And I'm not about to tell anybody how I did it. That I can save for a job. If somebody wants to know what I've done to make images that good looking, they can pay me. I'm not losing a job over this. That's for sure. And if I can help it, I want to help other people gain in their jobs, gain in their careers, gain in their employment. Or if they're capable designers and manufacturers, they can take one of my designs and build it, and we can both benefit. So that's what's up. I'm in this for the team. I'm in this for the influence. I'm in this for pushing that boundary. So anyways, with that said, thank you guys for joining. I'm going to sign out finally now that I've got my mic working. Thank you for joining and watching. Again, Instagram is where I'm most live, most commonly. It's not quite the same platform, so I'm glad to be back here on YouTube, even though I've got StreamYard helping me out, or that side. I don't know which way it's going to be. Anyway, thank you very much, and take care of yourself in every way that is important.